I don't think it's detached from the piece underneath it. It is.
Oh yeah, no, it might not be.
It doesn't move very easily. Never mind.
Wow.
Yeah. Son?
Hey, hello friends. Thank you for joining me again today. I am, just a minute, I'll talk to you in a minute. When I finish sticks. This was a crazy experiment. It started about 6 and it's growing on me little by little. I'm finding in many cases this is daily art adventure number 725. Continuing with this painting I started on plein air. I think I'm in beautiful Wrightsville Beach, North Carolina, staying in a very house. I forgot some of my old-fashioned language snuck out there. Not a cottage. And let's see if all right, so the Capitol building in Raleigh, North Carolina. I won't bother telling you what I did, just I worked on it. So now it's dry. And I'm ready to do what I'm now, my habit is, my practice is, I do that right before I'm about to do another. I'm doing a little Indian yellow and a little orange. Add a little bit for a second. I have a picture right here that I'm working from. Like the color of the leaves, and so I want to move to the green leafy color. Yeah, I guess. Okay, so and again, for any of you who are new here, that crazy risky thing that I did just a few minutes ago, brave or dangerous as it first appeared, because as soon as I rub a brush, is Winsor Newton Liquin, the original, and as soon as I rub the Liquin, it pushed back considerably and become usually fairly subtle smudges. What I mean to be saying is mare. They get turned into edginess that they had when I put them on. So it's not nearly as scary, but I'm discovering, like this right now. Can you still see that? What's left of that rather bold, those bold strokes that I put down. But I'm finding I very much rather like that, the feel that's left. I rub it till it disappears to the right degree. Does that make sense? If I keep rubbing it, it'll disappear completely. like it turning into a mere smudge of color. So the more I rub, the more it disappears. Anyway, so that's a pretty recent development in my, and part of a much larger agenda, I guess I would call that. A much larger agenda. I'm cleaning my brushes now. I'm putting blue, phthalo and ultramarine blue. The smudges retaining more abstraction in my finished paintings. All right, does that make sense? So I've been on that trajectory. Two ways to increase the amount of and the style of streaks that I just put down. Anything that I don't like, I just rub it, see, and it disappears. What is surprising, how much of it I like to keep. You understand? Because as a recovering realist, which is what I'm assuming most of you are as well, away from painting stuff that looks like stuff to one of my favorite YouTube broadcasters just the other day. It's called Are we freezing a lot? Let me see if I can do anything about that. Sorry about that. I'll fix that later if I am able. Nope. Okay, never mind. I'll keep going. I was trying to make the stream. Let's try a little. There we go. That's nice. A little permanent rose, a little bit of red. Transparent red. Okay, so I was saying most of us are on this journey. By us, in chronological years. Some people hit their midlife artistic journey at age 20, others don't reach it until age 75. So I don't. The first half of our journey is learning how to paint stuff that looks like stuff. This is review for you regulars, anybody new. First half of our art journey, if you will, forgive me, cute turn of phrase, but it's just the easiest way to put it. And the second half of our journey, so I started talking about this YouTube broadcaster that one of you turned me on to. His name is, and indeed he does. Paul talks a lot. Anyway, I enjoy much of what he has to say. Anyway, he has suggested to me, I've been drawing a contrast between realism, hyperrealism, superrealism, photorealism, whatever. Real painting, and if you wonder what I mean by real painting, then go back to Daily Art Adventure number 716 that I did just about 2 weeks. An hour and a half, very carefully. It's called A Lesson in Painting, I think. Well, the Paul Talks guy said instead of that conveys a little bit more accurately the message that I'm trying to get across. So that allows me to admit who do superb realism it lets me admit that they're doing real painting, but I don't know, it just feels a little bit less constrictive if I call it the opposite of that, true painting. And every time I start feeling really guilty about calling my wonderful friends, do super realistic painting, or no, not super realistic, but decided that when they paint pictures. And I give him credit. What is his name? That's silly. It'll come to me. Anyway, so they are indeed real painters, but I'm going to maybe back off just a lead on this, is call it true painting, okay? And true painting is what, first of all, it has a long, Rembrandt being at the front of the pack, so to speak, and as a true painter. And again, if you want to know what do I mean by that, then please go back and listen to, because I confess that on the surface it sounds like a very arrogant thing to say. How can you dare to say that what you about 90 minutes on Daily Art Adventure 716, a lesson in painting. I can't remember, it might be called a lesson in real painting, I don't remember. If nobody's watching, and that's all right, if nobody's watching, just I don't want to make sure my connectivity is okay. And since we started this broadcast, first, again, quick review. First I did a number of colors of random strokes. Then I did a glaze on top of that with liquid on the leaves and blue in the cool areas here, because that's what I've done so far. And then I started doing a little bit of opaque, which is really translucent. I decided the blue tree holes over here, as you may know. Once again, setting records here, folks, for viewership. That's sarcasm. In case you don't recognize it, that be sarcasm. I'm just, most of the time, I'm just not going to let that bother me. I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. But if someone is listening, watching, if you don't mind, just say, "Hey Dan," or "I'm here," or "I'm watching," or something like that. Simply it's going okay. Okay. So if one of you if you don't mind, even if you just stumbled on me by accident, just click live chat. Send me just a quick message. Self. You can hear the sound side of the island, and those of you on the East Coast, you know what that means. The rest of you, look it up. Appreciate it. Good to hear you. Thanks for giving me a shout there. Appreciate it very much. All right. Let's talk about the painting in general just for a minute. It's got a lot of potential. I still have the opportunity to ruin it, beyond ruining at this point. But by the same token, it's not beyond going somewhere really, really magical too. let me tell you, and again, I always talk to you people as if you are painters, and I'm not all, any non-artists watching me, you're more than welcome to eavesdrop. But I am talking to my fellow painters almost the whole time that I'm painting here. So let's talk about the difference between, I said I still ruin this painting, I said. By the same token, I have opportunity here for this painting to really turn into something magical. I hope you're hearing me. Oh my goodness, Cause, bless your heart. Oh my goodness, and you don't think you've missed one since. Well, bless your heart. You deserve some kind of prize. Thank you. And Cause, do I know where you're from? It doesn't matter, I'm just always curious, of course. Okay, let's stay on task. ADD. Again, talking to my, it's decent, it's good, it's okay, I'm happy with it. But it can go, either I can ruin it, or I can turn it into something transcendent. That's not quite the word. If you hear a decided lack of hubris, the old-fashioned Greek word for pride, I do not have in me right now an ounce of hubris or pride or over acknowledge that's what it's like to be an artist. Whoops. Just discovered I just made a drawing mistake, and now I have to decide whether to fix it or not. Yeah, this window, I've made it too long. I made it come all the way down to this line right here. Up there, so darn, I have to erase, which I don't like doing at all. I don't like erasing, so to speak, but sometimes can't be helped. Of over self-confidence, and I want to address that a little bit more by saying, sort of like, come on gang, let's admit, please, that this loaded, old-fashioned, difficult, problematic word, it's problematic for philosophical reasons, but today I'm going to use it anyway. The challenge, the business, and as you know, as Cos knows, who's listened to my broadcast the thousands of hours, evidently, I'm always talking. I mean painting is in this pursuit, in the pursuit of beauty, right? And sharp edge right there. And if you just listened to me talk, perhaps you might get the impression that I know what I get this. I know how to create a beautiful painting. I do. I have an awful lot of hunches. I have an awful lot of strong hunches, in fact, right? So that's what you're hearing from me often, is a lot of strong hunches. But let's back up and be a little bit more philosophical for a minute and say, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I mean, you understand? I mean, on a bigger, broader, deep thing of beauty is a mystery. There's a transcendence. And that's why it's so difficult. I remember going way, way back when I was a college art experience. In hindsight, my professors were pretty much lost as. By the way, I think if there's fewer than 7, it's gooses. If it's more than 7, it's geese. You can check me on that, but I believe that's correct. Believe it or not, it's one of those funny. More than 7, it's geese. Now that may be an archaic rule, but I do believe that was a rule. Anyway, my professors were lost as geese. Anyway, some students were doing intaglio. I was doing etching or intaglio print. Others were doing lithograph. Students, I have no idea what his name was. This goes back over 40 years now. One of my fellow students who was doing lithography did a self-portrait. Listen to this. My feeble attempt at humor. He did a self-portrait of himself. Kaz, trumpet player, and well, hang on, I gotta read. Kaz, I almost watch. I'm a trumpet player. How about that? Are you retired from trumpet playing too? Or do you still, like me, still fighting the good fight? Wynton Marsalis's dad, I forget his name right now, he's a famous, in his own right, famous, capable jazz pianist, tried to talk his for those of you who don't know, Wynton Marsalis, in some circles, I mean, you could say, without blushing, you could say that he was the best trumpet player in the world. And 30 years. I remember when he came out, so to speak, it became famous in 1984. I think it was 84, 83, 84, something like that. He won for a best jazz album and best classical instrumental album in the same year. Anyway, he's a freak of nature. And I'll get on. Trumpet players. Oh, you play trumpet too? When was the last time you practiced? And if the answer is any longer than yesterday, and you say, oh, I see, you used to play the trumpet. Cause, I'm still crazy enough that I'm actually still trying to practice every day. I don't make it because it's not my job. Oh, cause, not by choice? Darn. Well, it's because your wife or somebody, your significant other, put the kibosh on your practicing, or your neighbors did. There's a lot of good reasons. Or is it physical? Do you have definition means loss, hearing loss? Turns out we were supposed to be wearing hearing protection all those years. Even if we weren't playing rock and roll, we were supposed to be wearing hearing protection. I want to get back to what I started to say a little while ago. Oh my goodness. Cause. Let me go back to cause you got me all off topic here. I get to blame it on you whenever I can. Whenever I get to blame it on the chat, whenever I can. No ADD here. I'm describe this painting as at a crossroads. First of all, it's going to be an acceptable painting. It's going to be at least maybe an A-, or to use a baseball analogy, it is at least a that's at least, okay? But of course, I'm hoping for, a grand slam, home run with the bases loaded. I'm hoping for, in the bottom of the ninth, with that's what I'm hoping for. Now, let me tell you. So, what's the difference? between a painting, let's say, I'll say a B. I mean, if I stopped right now, it's a B. And here's where I want you, especially first half, early art journey painters, any of you who are watching, who might watch this later. There's a difference between this particular painting coming out, finishing as an A+++, versus two things, two opposite things. Okay, they are, on the one hand, spectacular drawing. Now, as you can see, I mean, all the big drawing is basically done, right? So it's too late, you know, if big drawing is acceptable. But I'm about to show you, because I spotted something here a minute ago. I'm about to show you a little bit of representational, can I call it, that will nudge this painting, I think, from B to B+, and it's this right here. I've just mixed up basically this color, pale. And it was the realization just a minute ago, it's like, oh, wait a minute. If the sun is hitting all these leaves and so on and so forth with this degree of intensity, then over here, in front of the building, there ought to be some sun hitting branches. All right? At least until now, I did not. Now I'm looking very specifically. I'm looking way up here at this photograph that's just out of sight. That's what I'm looking at. Do I see that happening in really, unless having done it now, I can use a little imagination and say, yeah, I guess I can kind of see it up there. Okay, so, but the bottom line is, no, I did not get this impulse invented. Okay, so I'm making a point here. What's going to move this painting from pretty good to transcendent? It's my favorite language. From first one is, what did I call it a minute ago? Exquisite drawing. That means really, really, really good drawing. And what I just did, let me zoom in so you can see what I did just for a minute. Okay, even though it's not in the photograph. Okay, that's part A. What's going to move this from a B to an A+++? Number one, exquisite drawing. This might be, if you're an artist, they'll be a surprise to you. What's really going to move pretty good B to transcendent A+++, Grand Slam home run. Number one, exquisite drawing, but more important than that, let me take a minute. I'm always trying to come up with a new way to say things. What is an exquisite mark? Let me try to describe that even while I try to do it. An exquisite mark is always goes beyond realism. Okay, so it's not realism. So I just did several. Let me point them out to you. I have this yellow gold. I just made this mark right here. Boom. And I made this one here. Boom. 2. 1, 2. Over here, I made where this color right here, I started painting on this part of the building that's in sun, and then I made one mark go like that, and another one go like that. What's on my hands right now. All of those are, here's a new term I'm going to make up. That is beyond realism. They are not accurate reflections of word. They are marks. There's another one. That one didn't make much of a mark. They are marks that go beyond defining the image. To the club. Okay, now the marks I'm doing right now, I would do, say on my brushes, pale, yellow, orange, brown. It's the marks I'm doing right now. Are they realism or trans? The sun is hitting this part of the building pretty intensely, so I just added some sunlight. So in that respect, the marks I just did are, in this case, in an exaggeration sense. But often in the last several months. The human eye is inexorably drawn to punctiliar light, okay? And I know that's the human eye is inexorably, that means you can't help yourself. It's like watching a train wreck. You cannot turn away. The human punctiliar light, that means points, bits of light. So that's what this is. These are points of light. So in that defining or exquisite drawing, I called it a few minutes ago. It goes beyond that. It's not just realism. Okay. So what will make this a transcendent painting? Yeah. There yet. Time will tell. But it needs to go beyond mere drawing. It needs to tip into what today, for the first time ever, you heard it here first, on drawing. And between those two, exquisite drawing, a correct answer to that question, in my opinion. And the answer is the transrealism. The surprising marks are more important than the and a comment. The quote me please. The I'm going to modify it. So I'm going to say the design for, that's a good quote. The designing, by design I mean all of the abstract design elements, line, shape, color, design, if you will, mere drawing. And while we're on the subject, I'm going to get off it and go down to something else. I'm still talking about what will push this painting. I will tell you the number one mistake that I make, and other early journey painters make way more than I do. The number one, too much definition, not enough surprise marks. In other words, too many predictable marks, not enough surprising marks. Just one more thing on that topic. The DAA Adventure 716 that I called a lesson in real painting, I think. Now I would call it a lesson in true painting. Loose painting, and have now discovered that that is a counterproductive term for early journey painters. Whoa! That window that oh good, lots of chats now. Yeah, I'm choppy today, David, I'm so sorry. I'm not at home. Okay, so that window was overdrawn. Not like my Expected as much, David. I'm at the beach, and therefore if anybody wants to join Uncle 60 and helping me contribution, I need about $400 and I have about 100, and I'm thinking I will buy a Mevo Plus, the next connectivity, and that is what I'm suffering from here with my current Mevo camera, is very inadequate connectivity. Indeed, I'm anxious to get a new camera. I'm not rolling in cash at the moment. Back to what I was saying, what is the number one thing that could keep this painting from, I'll say, entering the transcendent realm? And an over fastidious attention to detail, not enough random marks. My old friend Neil Watson used to call it Neil Watson. You can Google him. He passed away a few years ago before the he does deserve. So what could cause this painting to just land at a B plus right now, actually, which is drawing. Too much drawing, too much detail. I need to be constantly asking myself, okay, was that line necessary? Was that bit of definition necessary? And if it wasn't, I can do something like this. You can see, for instance, this window, the mulligans, quite well defined. This one, much less so. You can see the top and the bottom. This, less so, and this, even less than that. Very intentional, right? This is be a classic place to screw up. Would be to overdraw the mullions in these windows. And punch up some highlights on this window. Do a little bit on this one. My hand, and I hope I don't forget to move the camera. You've heard me say, if you're a regular, you've heard me say many times that the essence of good painting is making interesting marks, right? An interesting mark make is a good and difficult question, right? Correct? Yes, correct. It just so happens that in the last several minutes, a darker color right now for just a minute. Hang on. Okay, and I'm moving that down to the. Okay, first of all, do you see how I'm holding my brushes? That's side saddle, and of course I'm right-handed. Been done most of my painting for the last several minutes with my left hand. That's 5 seconds. Really? Yep. Put your brush in your other hand. There. Now you're a better painter. But I've modeled for using your brush in a proper manner, like I'm doing right now, in a loose manner. wiggle and jiggle on its own without your permission. I've said this before, let me repeat it though, because no doubt journey painters here. Okay, did you see what my hand just did? Did you see that wiggle? And it just did it again? And that just did it again? See, so let me zoom in here real tight. Where it goes up like that, that was a complete mistake, okay? Now, I'm not smart enough to paint good, but I'm smart enough to see good painting. All right, so let me go back to, so what doth an interesting mark make, and how do you make them? And the very thing, again, you feel like you can't control your brushes. You feel like you're always wiggling and jiggling and not drawing very well, because your brush makes these, that's why you hike up like this, because you want control. See me do plenty of that. As much as I hate it, that's what I have to do to do a portrait. It's the size of a silver dollar. But I don't consider that true painting. So I'm trying to answer the question now. So the essence of good painting is making interesting marks. How do you make interesting marks? And wiggle and jiggle the way they do. Many of you early journey painters, you're in fact angered repeatedly. You get mad at your hands. In fact, you're getting angry at the very thing. Forgive me for reading your mail, peeking over your shoulder and telling you what you're doing, but I know you guys. People who paint this way, early journey painters, and because I have a monthly painters forum where I'm continually reminded how early journey painters at your hands because you feel like they wiggle too much, therefore you can't paint. When in fact, the wiggling of your hands is irregular, accidental marks and motions that your hands make is what in fact will make give your painting good for doing what they're supposed to be doing. If that's you, accept this. If it's not, forget it. That's a good example of too much drawing. By the way, that's one of the simplest antidotes, solutions to overdrawing. Smart made a wrong. I was not trying to make my hands do that. My hand made that mark because it had a little seizure of its own. Again, that likewise, a little bit overdrawn. I said a minute ago, that's one of the easiest solutions to overdrawing, is just draw something in an over fastidious manner. I may be done with this side of the building, maybe not. Time will tell. Now I think I can actually make it slightly brighter, lighter up here, so I'll probably do that, but I want to leave it for now. I've got two people walking, standing right here, that is demanding some treatment. David says this painting needs some rust colors on the tree trunk and branches. I think. Did you say that before or after I did this, David? I don't remember. Anyway, I think you're right. I think that's a great idea. So I haven't gotten there yet. That's a good limbs. Let me read. Yeah, the kids do not at school today. We're on vacation. Yeah, no, it's my signal. Fun, fun, fun. Thank you guys. Appreciate all your chats. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I'm standing here thinking, where to go next? Okay, the focal point of this painting is over out, really out. The line is right there where it ought to be. From there, it diffuses outward. And these bushes down here in the foreground. Just a little bit of light. Keep it more impressionist. Keep it, don't get too far now. That's certainly the right warning. That is certainly. I think I'm okay so far. But I'm walking a dangerous edge. Truly. I'm going to do now a highlight on the sunward side of this lamp. It's a green boost. And those strokes are all just abstract. Yeah, we're all on vacation at the beach this week. David reminded me of an expression that I came up with just the other day. Let me talk to all my fellow early journey painters. I don't know, I'm not really early journey. I am compared to somebody, I suppose, but tend toward realism in your painting process. Well, let me even back up from there. If the great majority of the marks that you make in realism, then in that case, in your painting life, time is your enemy. Whereas, opposite of realism, definition, accuracy, drawing, similitude, all those words mean the same thing, using all of them the same. Realism, then time is not nearly so much your enemy. So you have to be careful that in all your painting, you don't slip into too much drawing. You need to. Art marks. Again, quoting Neil Watson, one of my old mentors from the early 90s. He said, for realistic similitude, for every drawing mark that you make, you need to make an art mark, and that is not. At the moment, I'm adding little bits of super bright highlight on these leaves, on this foliage. That is, I'm going to. But nevertheless, these marks that I'm making fall under the general description or category of realism. Easily seen that what I've just done in the last several minutes is sun hitting leaves. Therefore, it's realism, not abstract. Those big, they were pretty timid. Okay, let's be honest. I'm not winning any points. I'm thinking of Olympics, you know, like the skaters getting points for triple summer camel spins. I don't know my skating terminology. The word camel's in there. I don't know why. Skaters. Anyway, if you don't try something brave, you don't get many points. And at the moment, I'm not being very brave. So, okay. By the way, let's talk about it. And part of the answer, and here's where it's really hard to teach. It must be, in a sense, forgive me, it must be spontaneous. Those crazy spontaneous marks that I do sometimes make, they have to come unbidden, unplanned, unpremeditated. Color mixing. I'm trying to do these bushes back here. And I want some paint that is just ever so slightly. Let's get this color off my brushes. There's a lamp back there that needs some attention. And going around the corner of the building, I need some atmosphere over there. I do want some orange-brown light on that tree and maybe on those are all drawing words, which gives me pause. Do you understand? It's like, ooh, that sounds dangerous. Okay, let's see if I got the right color now. Not quite, getting close though. Uncle asked a very good question. No, there's one way up here at the top of the building. None down here. You're right. That's a good thought. I could have manufactured one, of course. Those shrubs I do use pink. Good idea. Good idea. David suggests. No, I'm assuming you're not talking about like flowers, right? Which should also be perfectly acceptable. We do have. In fact, that's a that's a thought. I didn't even thought about that. And look at my photograph. Ooh, there. I'll one thing at a time. I'll come back to that. I think David was referring primarily to an abstract broken color paint. Uncle 60 suggesting I smash my old Mevo on the. That's funny. I wish I had thought about flowers, pink, red, yellow, pink, orange, red flowers in these bushes. I wish I'd thought about it in the so late. I will possibly. I will possibly still do it because I think it's an oversight on my part. but I do wish I thought about it in the acrylic stage. Got a nice dull green on my brushes at the moment that I use. And by the way, one of the things I just checked off my list was I said some atmospheric perspective around this edge. Very cool green, dull bluish green, and now a whiter version of that, but still. There we go. Oh, somebody got hurt, the little guy. Kids, all our grandchildren are, of course, the cutest grandchildren in the world. Anybody who's disagrees with, but this little Avi, he's just turned 3. Oh my goodness, he's just heart-stoppingly cute. We were walking down to the beach yesterday, the big beach with the big waves. Charlie Brown stage of life. He just looks like a Charlie Brown character. His older brother, Izzy, who's just about to turn 9. Skinny neck, just like one of those kids. I love it. I just love it. They've been living with us for quite the challenge in Raleigh, North Carolina these days. We heard about a house just the other day, talking to our friends. They bought their house, went on the market in the morning, 5 o'clock that night. It's crazy trying to buy houses in our neighborhood, in our city these days. Having the kids with us, the day they move out will be the happiest and the saddest day of our lives. Okay, that's a little bit overdrawn. Ugh. Let's get all our overdraw. Nice. All right, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going really slowly, but I fear I'm getting really boring at broadcasting. Hello, Eric. Good to have you on board. Just in time for me to hang up on you. Dee and David both agreeing that some color in here. I think that's a good idea. Okay, tell you what. I'll do that before I hang up. I always reserve the right, after I feel like a painting is finished, quote unquote. I put in my, my daily log. I record everything I do every day. Not everything, but I record all the productive things. I'll call it I finished. Not usually to add more realism to it, and then follow up the glaze with some little bits of light. Anyway, that's probably what I'll do, and probably without your company. In here, which is a great idea. There's already little tiny bits of abstract red, so that's good. I'll need to get raised up in intensity and glow. I'll probably do a little bit of drawing, tiny bit of definition, like a side atmospheric stuff happening around the corner of I'm still messing with it, around the corner of the building. Some warmth on these branches, and then I be more intense, maybe right in here. All right, but before I go, let's do taking some steps, because this might be the end, you guys. I'm sorry. I'm away from home. I'm at the beach. Is it too boring, David? There's quite a bit happening. It's pretty subtle. All along there, do you see? Adding red. How do you do that? Well, first of all, I'm going to go fairly dark of naphthol crimson, which is a dark, fairly dark, cool red, tending slightly toward the purple end of the spectrum. Okay? Really doing essentially a fuzz layer for those of you who are regulars. Fuzzing in, but instead of fuzzing light, I'm fuzzing. You got some bad sound, did you? Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to add a little bit of white to that mixture. Oh, and a little bit of medium dark translucent red on my brushes. And doing just little bits of red. Okay, change my mind here. I've got too much red. What do I? All right. It was too regular all of a sudden. Don't know if I'm broadcasting now or not. So I'm going to keep talking as if I am. Working on getting my some late color, late red into this painting. That's probably it right there. So trying to get my monitor back up and functioning. All right, so that's probably it right there.
Wait, because I'm making a movie.
think I am. I'm going to mix up just one tiny bit of yellow-orange. Oh, I'm looking like Thomas Kincaid now, aren't I? All right, are we back? Okay, good. Story of the sad story of the rude police captain. You're gonna have to go back. Red, great idea, guys. Thank you. Like I said, a little bit tricky to add it that late in the process, but if you were watching, I just showed you at least how I do that. And on my rendering of these people, this couple. So here's a man. Would I rather have a photograph to go by? You betcha. But since I don't, what am I going to do? I'm going to just rely on stuff. Now, here's what I would like you to see here, is that I am almost certainly going to overdraw this, the most common term that y'all would use, too realistic even perhaps, but that's misleading because I do not want to be not real. Okay, for those of you who just joined me, since I'm moving the camera, hang on, there's the view over my left shoulder. Isn't that sweet? All right. I'm drawing this couple. Okay, so I just put some dark, transparent. By the way, do you see that mark? That was a mistake. And again, I talked about this earlier today. That's what many of you early journey painters, that's precisely, you get mad at your hand for making those. Okay, here's the. Okay, I'm going to do clean off these brushes real quickly and do some color on top of those, some clothing color. And this is easy for me. Pardon me here a minute. I need to change. What color should I put on the man? Pale, as if he's perhaps wearing a white shirt, but most of his white shirt is in the shade. Make sense? So a cool purplish blue. Yeah, and greenish blue down here. Okay, now wiping off these brushes. Towel. Let's pick up some flesh colored, which I thankfully already have left over from something else, earlier project. And that'd be quite loose. No, not loose is not the word. That's not the word. Trying to be quite energetic in my strokes. Not. She looks like she's just standing still, and I want them to be walking. Now I'm going to mix up a slightly lighter flesh tone to go on top of He is wearing short sleeve and has one arm, the arm toward us. A little bit of either his or her arm or both back here. The most tight or definitive thing that I'm going to do on these figures, landscape painting. So now I've been very loose. Now I'm going to be oh, that's too bright. Hang on. I'm going to be halfway tight. Forgive me. Hang on. I need to get some new. Is going to be the tightest drawing on this couple, and I'm not going to paint the couple. I'm going to paint the colors around them. Of both of their necks. Cutting a little bit off the top of his head. It's the most common thing, even though I know how big worry because I come back and cut them off. I need to cut some off the front using my left hand so that I can't control the brush too much. And likewise off the front of his chest. Greener stuff going here for a minute. I want to more color mixing. Again, trying to match this green that's along here. Skinning up his legs. That's too much, so let me scratch some of that off. There we go. Okay, now cleaning these brushes quickly, and then I'm going to try to match the yellow of some kind. So, real challenge to try to match that color. A bit more orange for the camera. All right. Now, is it close? No, it's a little bit too orange and a little bit too dark. So let's lighten that up. Yeah, close enough. Okay, skinny up the back of her legs. And a little spot of light carving up the front of his legs. Now, how do you paint behind them and so forth? Am I done yet? No. Very much the way I paint trees. In this couple, there are certainly the psychological focal point. Big difference, right? There's more than one focal point. And if you put a nature scene, a pair of roller skates, or an old log cabin, you understand all those things that scream out human presence. Let alone humans themselves. They, his legs look. So I'm painting figures here very much the way I paint like trees. Layer by layer. Make sense? So I painted positive, then I painted negative, and I painted positive again. I'm going to paint negative again. Behind the object. And back to that again. Anybody watching here? I think you are. There we go. Sorry about that. Running with the varnish or anything. Now, let me. No. If you were to do a big bunch of black pencil and then run, varnish or medium, it's just that there's not a thick, if you will, thick layer of pencil on the way this man is looking. Back and forth, back, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, till he starts to look. And some of the best painting in this regard will happen when I quit trying so hard. And I didn't ever finish his feet. Everything down here, it looks like he's got great big Popeye feet, which of course is. Okay, getting there little by little. And I don't need to drag. The principle here is back and forth, just the way you paint trees. You paint the sky, what are traditionally called sky holes. The more times you do it, presuming each time you're making more correct decisions than incorrect ones, the tree becomes more and more believable or realistic as you go along. Same thing. I go back and forth and back and forth. And again, it takes the pressure off me having to get it exactly right all at once. Overly tight. Let's do a little bit more. I think I just shortened her skirt maybe a little bit. Let me do one last thing. That is probably this brush right here. That doesn't mean I have to quit and I have to take whatever just happened. No. But what I just did relieved me of I've been doing overdrawing, too much drawing for the last several minutes, right? The whole time. Do you see how easy that is? That's just a really convenient trick. Especially when you're having to put figures in a scenic painting. A bride and groom at a wedding. I've got a little bit of a glow happening right around this couple, and I'm trying to decide whether I like it or is it too much. I think I kind of like it. I keep saying that, don't I? All right, a little bit more highlight now on her, the red dress. Blue shirt. Almost all the flesh tone I put on earlier. Hang on, I'm mixing colors here, trying to get the right intensity. So I don't know if you can tell how I'm using the with it, not against it. Okay, so it's starting to look like, let me back up now. So you can see sort of the big picture. And I'm going to give you a rocky ride here and pick you up. Right? Not bad. I'm not done, so I'm going to keep working on it some. But by the way, I especially like this stroke of red abstract that happened. But those are almost certainly going to stay there. I still need a bit of light between her legs. Her face needs some. It needs to convey that Italian word, sprezzatura. Let me plug you back in here. This is our dirty little secret that you know that I've just spent 10 minutes or more working on that couple, and I'm not done yet. No, she does not have two heads. It's all right. I just spent way too. This is a good example. If all the time you spend on your painting all goes in one direction, that is toward realism, similitude, accuracy, drawing, then couple goes in the opposite direction, against similitude, accuracy, realism, drawing. Okay? Be that as it may, when it's all done, I'm going to have spent a lot of time on this. Well, they can't be gorillas walking down the road, or, it has to look real. At the same time, it can't look like I just spent 20 minutes on them. Oh, I just baked the world's tallest coffee cake, says the chef. And the king says, magnifique! I hate that language, but you know what I'm talking about. Okay, that's sprezzatura. Oh, an air of ease. Oh, it just fell out of the oven, for you. Not, you just spent 37 hours building this world's tallest coffee cake. I'm being silly. Same thing here. I want it to look like, oh, it was nothing. I just flung my like that. Or it's not in keeping with the rest of the painting. But it has to be, dang, exactly. Has to look exactory. Good example of it. I'm on a good, it's on a good path. We're getting there. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. And thanks for watching. So I'm going to paint by myself for a while. Thank you for your company. The lady with two heads. I see what you're getting at. No. And I'll show you this painting when it's all done, at least on my community page. It's not. If I start doing something really exciting, I'll give you yell. I'll start broadcasting again, okay? I'm going to go have a little bit of vacation at the beach. Thanks for watching.